Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, who's been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. That's almost 100 years of serving the global specialty coffee retail entrepreneur with some of the most dependable, innovative, and beautiful espresso machines in the world. A great example of that would be something like the KB90 espresso machine, straight-in locking portafilters to help with ergonomics, scales in the drip tray to increase accuracy of your extractions, auto flush in the group heads for more cleanliness and increased workflow. And that's just one of many types of machines designed specifically to address the needs of the variety of coffee shops out there. And yours would be one of them. So there's a La Marzocco espresso machine that fits your needs perfectly. Whether you're looking for your first espresso machine for your first coffee shop, or you're just scaling your business or want to upgrade your current equipment, they are available to help you make these types of decisions. If you just email them, info@lamarzocousa.com, you can talk to one of their salespeople. They'll help you through that process. And I would recommend you also check out their website at lamarzocousa.com. Again, if you're looking for quality, innovation, and dependability in an espresso machine, then I think you need to be using a La Marzocco. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly, who's creating custom branded mobile apps for your coffee business. They are dedicated to the independent coffee retailer and helping them extend the brand experience out to the convenience of mobile ordering. So your customers can see on their phone, this is you. This is not just a dot on a map. It is your logo, it's your font, it's your menu, it's all of that. And it's an extension of who you are. And that really builds loyalty and ease of use for your customer. Now, it's a no-risk model when you're working with Espressly. There's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All of the data is stored in the app, and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems. Of course, that includes Square. So a lot of things going for it, and I think you really should explore this as an option for your cafe. To look into this and have them get started on your app today, you can visit them over at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everyone. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've wanted to talk to you about on this show for a long time. On this particular segment, of course, we call this segment Shift Break. Why? Because that's what we do sometimes when we're on shift is we get a shift break. But we know that we don't always get a shift break. Some coffee shops are really good at this. Some are not. In fact, a lot of coffee shops simply rely on the passion and the generosity of their baristas to basically say, you can take a break, but there's no break that's really structurally in place that would allow you to rest and recharge and relax at all on the bar, more like squatting in the corner somewhere hidden from customers until you realize that you actually can't sit for very long because people need you, and it's hard to eat or relax when you know that at any moment you're going to be having to tap in and take on more shift responsibilities. And so the shift break is an idea that some people get to participate in, and other people is a concept that occasionally happens, but most times is just, punctuated by a bunch of interruptions and is just might as well not even be there. And so for a lot of us, and this includes me for large portions of my career, I just never took breaks, even though that was something that people said that you could do and that they wanted us to do. It was never really enforced, and nor was it actually facilitated. Now, I knew that there was no way I could take a break, and so I didn't. And for a lot of us, we're just happy to exist this way, both owners and managers and baristas. We just have this agreement that shift breaks are a theory, and some people get to have them and some people don't. Well, I'm really going to advocate today that a shift break is something that you make a reality through structuring your schedule in a way that allows for people to actually take a break on their shift. Now, I understand this is easier said than done, okay? And legally speaking, you have to give people breaks at certain intervals of work. And it might be different where you are listening to this show, and you need to explore legally what your employees are owed for their breaks. In some places, it's every 5-6 hours you get 30 minutes. Other places, it's an hour for every 8 hours. And so your mileage might vary here, but you need to know the lay of the land in terms of what you're legally required to give people. And if you are going to give people this idea that they can take a shift break, then it needs to be built into your structure somehow that you're going to give them the freedom to literally take a break, not just remove themselves physically from the bar only to, have to step back into the bar. Now, the way that you can do this is one of two ways. You're either going to have people take their shift breaks during a time when it's slow enough that one person can work the bar, or the bar can be worked with a person down, and there's no expectation that that person will get up and have to help out on the bar, and that everybody understands that production will slow at that time. If there's an unforeseen line that happens, nobody will expect you to get up from eating your sandwich to save everybody from the line. The line will just be slower. That's just what you have to do. And you have to determine, is that okay with you? And there's a lot of cafes that are in this kind of halfway point where they can't afford to have very many people on bar to buffer that. So they say, okay, well, the well-being of our staff, and that they take a break, is more important than the throughput of our bar at those particular times. And so we're going to work a person down. And that's the way we're going to have to do it until we can figure out another way. And that other way is where another individual would take that person who is on break and switch with them. And I'm going to say that that person should be a manager or an owner, somebody who can step in and take over for that person, or at least be on call to cover shift breaks. A lot of times we don't really put this into the responsibilities of the manager, but if we build this in as an expectation from the beginning, then it will discipline us to really determine when these breaks happen. And we'll have to pay attention to the flow of customers, the best times for these breaks to happen, so we account for the most ideal flow of traffic, plus opportunity for side work to get done as well. So if you have 3 people working a shift, it's most likely because you have a time at which there's so many people coming in the door that you need 3 people to be actively working, i.e. not on a break. And so that's not the time to put people on a break, because then you just have a 2-person bar with 1 person taking a break. And so the effectiveness of a 3-person team just out the window, right? And you don't want to have people taking their break right when they get into work or right at the end of the shift only. So you're really left with a little bit into the shift or a little bit after that rush. And usually it's after that rush. And people need a break from work after they've worked. That's what a break is for, right? Is a break from the work that you've done. And again, that might look different for you, but I will tell you that the schedule and creating structures that create dependable shift breaks and shifts themselves is part of resourcing people well. It is one of the primary ways that you show care to your staff. If you tell them that you take their well-being seriously, but you do not set up your staff structure in a way where breaks can actually happen, then internally, I think people just kind of know that's not true. They don't. They say that, but we can't, and we don't, and they don't see how this isn't working. I've said to many people that when you're in an administrative position, if you're a manager or an owner of some kind, your work is no longer making coffee. It's creating structures and environments where people can thrive in the midst of the work that they do creating coffee. That is your art form. That is what we should be busying ourselves with, and creating consistent covered breaks for our staff, as well as a reasonable schedule that's consistent. Those are a couple of really key things that should be top of the line priority items for innovation and investment for every coffee bar, or else your idea of wanting to get buy-in from your staff on different initiatives, etc., it's just going to fall on deaf ears. This is the first place that people learn to either trust or not trust you. And so if you're listening to this shift break today, maybe you're on a shift break. Maybe you had to pause this halfway through because you needed to help with a line and now you're finishing it up. Maybe you're listening to this and you know that there's something you can do to help your baristas get a better consistency in their shift breaks. This is worth investing into. Don't think about this as a cost. It's an investment. It's the same kind of thing that made you buy an espresso machine. You know that because you bought that piece of equipment, it's going to give you the ability to produce something. If you think about your staff the same way, not like a piece of equipment, but with the idea that if you invest into them, you will get more in return, especially when it comes to having a cohesive team of well cared for people who trust you, then it's a lot easier to embrace this and invest in creating systems that create consistency for things like a shift break that actually means you get to have a shift break. So I hope that this encourages you today to take the first step in making shift breaks a real thing and have it be a dependable institution and process of your business. And I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.